Imagine waking up in a world where your wedding night is a public event and your body is considered a battleground between demons and divine punishment. This is not a twisted fantasy novel. This was medieval Europe. Behind the stained glass windows of towering cathedrals and under the rule of kings and popes, a secret world of bizarre sexual customs thrived. A world where science, superstition, and sin danced in a strange and tangled web. What did they believe about lust, love, and the body? How did their fears shape their fantasies? The answers might shock you. This is not just history. This is a portal into the most unthinkably weird sexual practices of the medieval times. In medieval Europe, sexuality was seen through the eyes of the church. The body was a vessel of temptation, and any desire outside of procreation was branded as sin. Celibacy was praised, yet ironically, medieval doctors warned that abstaining too long could make men ill or women hysterical. Strange, right? They believed sexual fluids had to be released to maintain health, creating a confusing blend of religious guilt and medical advice. The concept of the four bodily humors added more layers. Too much black bile, you might be lustful. Too little blood, that meant you lacked passion. The human body was a puzzle, and sex was both its problem and its cure. Imagine trying to stay holy while doctors prescribed sex as medicine, the so-called right of a noble to sleep with a peasant's bride on her wedding night. It sounds like the ultimate abuse of power, but did it actually happen? Historians say probably not. There is little evidence to prove it was a real enforced law. More likely, it was a myth created later to paint feudal lords as monsters. Still, the idea fed into the fears of the lower classes and echoed through whispered stories. Imagine the terror a young couple might feel, unsure if the local lord might demand his right. After the vows were spoken, the real spectacle began. Enter the bedding ceremony, a strange mix of tradition, voyeurism, and community involvement. The newlyweds were led to bed by friends and family. In some cases, guests stayed to watch, offer instructions, or even throw their clothes on the bed for luck. Sometimes, a priest would bless the sheets or sprinkle holy water before stepping out. In noble courts, the pressure to prove consummation was immense. Blood-stained sheets might be displayed as proof. Imagine being surrounded by cheering relatives as you were expected to perform your first act of intimacy. For many, the wedding night was not just personal. It was a ritual bound by honor, reputation, and very public expectations. Long before modern discussions of gender identity, medieval societies had their own words for those who did not fit the norm. Terms like beddle and beddling appeared in Old English glossaries, possibly referring to gender non-conforming individuals or those seen as sexually deviant. But the lines were blurry. Some monks even participated in spiritual brother-making rituals known as adelphopoiesis. Enter the fabliaux, short, comic tales filled with sex, trickery, and absurd situations. These stories, often told by traveling bards or court jesters, mocked everything from lusty monks to cheating wives. In one tale, a priest hides under a bed to spy on lovers, only to end up kicked in the face. Another features a man who fools his rival by impersonating a woman in the dark. These bawdy stories were the Netflix of their time, offering peasants and nobles alike a scandalous escape from daily life. Laughter became a release valve for taboo desires, exposing just how much the medieval mind delighted in sexual mischief and mockery. Medical and magical oddities. Forget modern medicine. In the Middle Ages, sexual advice came from a mix of superstition and trial and error. Physicians recommended vinegar-soaked tampons as contraceptives. Love potions made from herbs, animal parts, and even menstrual blood were thought to stir passion or guarantee loyalty. Men were told to avoid cold foods to keep their desire burning, while women were warned that celibacy might cause their wombs to wander. Yes, really, masturbation was both feared and prescribed. One guide suggested it might help restore mental clarity. Others condemned it as sinful self-harm. Then there were charms, magical tokens tied to fertility or used to attract partners. These ranged from rabbit feet to dried beetles. Worn in secret under clothing, the most enduring images of medieval sexuality is the chastity belt, a metal contraption supposedly locked onto women to preserve their purity. But was it real? Historians say not quite. Most examples in museums were created centuries later as jokes or warnings. The idea of knights strapping these onto their wives before battle is more fantasy than fact. Like many tales of the era, the chastity belt says more about modern imaginations than medieval truth. Still, its popularity in art and stories reveals deep anxieties about control and fidelity. The Middle Ages were full of strange customs, but sometimes the weirdest things we believe about them are the ones that never truly happened. Conclusion: from public bedding ceremonies to magical contraceptives, the medieval world was filled with sexual beliefs that now seem shocking or absurd. But behind the myths and laughter was a society struggling to understand the body, love, and morality in a world ruled by fear and faith. Some customs were real, others were exaggerations or complete fabrications. But all of them reveal something fascinating. When it comes to sex, the past is never as simple or as clean as we think.